dumb for having listened.
Welcome back to the Lunchtime Catch-Up Podcast, episode number 37. It's not all that bad, folks, episode of the Lunchtime Catch-Up Podcast. Lunchtime Catch-Up Podcast is two blokes who've known each other for 30-odd years, who get together most days in the Melbourne CBD to talk about everything Essendon Football Club. With me is my friend Scotty.
Hello, everyone, and I was really hoping to do the over-the-top arrogant show today.
The lid off, yelling from the other room, we were going to be that happy.
And, halfway through the third quarter, I thought, this could be it, But no, we had a bit of bad luck with the injuries and a few just big moments in the game, which we'll talk about.
We were just talking earlier before the podcast, and you're actually going to break down a little bit of an emotionless review, just to take a bit of the emotion out and have a look at some of the statistics of key players and how that affected the outcome.
Yeah, so look, I'll go straight into it.
I guess you can do it now. Okay.
Well, let's talk about the game. So,
yeah, cool.
So obviously, I'm really glad. Like, me and Grant spoke together and said, "Do we do a podcast straight after the game?" And we just didn't feel like we were in the right way. We don't like losing to Collingwood.
No, it's very difficult to get words out of me or Scott after a game like that, especially against Collingwood.
And look, there was a lot of emotion because, one, we lost the game, but even the whole umpiring debate, we were just a little bit filthy, and and obviously the club is too now. So we just weren't in the right mindset to do the podcast, even though we kind of set out to do it. So I'm kind of glad we've just taken a couple of days. Yeah,
you made some really good points before the podcast. I think points that would have been absolutely lost if we had to come in here with faces like thunder going, "Yeah, welcome back to Lunchtime Catch-Up Podcast." I don't think that would have worked.
No, so look, here's how I see the Essendon Collingwood game. We obviously got jumped early, and like the previous North Melbourne game, we had a lot of resilience and came back and started to...
That was really pleasing for me.
So that's happened 2 weeks in a row, and we started to get on top of Collingwood, which was a huge effort, and the midfield was working quite well. Our setup was quite good. Our structures were all good. So things were going great. And suddenly in this third quarter, Stringer gets a knock, Myers gets a knock, our Bell Chambers gets a knock, and they're all struggling. And look,
but that wasn't exactly obvious to everybody.
No. None of us knew that at the time.
Yeah.
And then, look, after the game, you can see when you look at the amount of percentage of game time, you can see Heppel's had to go over 90%. Zach Merritt's got close to 90% of the game had to play because Myers could only play 69%, Stringers could only play 74%. And what's happened there, and even Bell Chambers had to go to the bench for an extended period and see Grundy sort of dominate for a short period.
And that's all it takes too.
And that's all it took.
Yeah.
That was the whole game, because what had happened is Heppel, Smith and Zach Merritt had to play so much of that third quarter because of those injuries that by the time it came to the last, they were spent. And every right to be spent, because they've played
90 minutes, or 90%.
They've played on an average about 15% more than the Collingwood midfielders, I worked out. And that's
why you hear those stories about rotations and why there's such a big focus on rotations and the AFL is going to limit rotations and all this sort of stuff. I gave probably a small amount of credence to rotations and that sort of stuff. Yeah. But I swear, when you've got, especially in your midfield with Jakey and Myers getting knocks that just didn't allow them to play like Jakey and Myers, the rotations or their inability to continue to run because of that, those rotations they talk about become really important.
And Ambrose leaving the game. I mean, he's only played 24 sort of minutes,
and he's key. He's a key position defender.
He's an exceptional runner, and so we've got one less rotation. Then we have the 3 injuries. So the more I looked at the game,
and the 19th player that Collingwood had, on the field, you got to add that as well.
So look, when you look at the game, you actually go, you know what? we've actually done very well. We turned up on a big game.
Yep.
When we had our players out there running okay, even with Ambrose out early, we were up at 3/4 time. We really had moments to actually get a better lead.
Mm-hmm.
At 3/4 time, there's a couple of pivotal moments. I actually found a really pivotal moment when McKernan, he had a mark, or what I'll say, a 12-metre kick, a mark that the Collingwood guys didn't like. And that's probably the only decision that Collingwood were justified in being a bit angry with, because it did obviously look like McKernan played on as well.
Yep.
But they were so angry. I mean, I said to you while watching it, sort of, this is now an important goal, because I just naturally thought he would kick it because it was only 20 metres out.
Yep.
But this is a really important goal. Well, 7 points up. This will get us to 13 points, and it almost would make the Collingwood guys dispirited.
The handy point.
Yeah. If we kick that goal, we go 13 up the handy point. But they look like they were so angry at that decision, it might have been dispiriting to them. And I thought that he's really shanked the kick. Collingwood's grabbed the ball, gone down the length of the field.
Yep.
As we all know, kicks a goal, and suddenly we're looking at a 1 or 2 point game, and we're not 13 points up.
And we don't have the fresh legs. Well, not that none of the legs are fresh on the bench when you're playing in AFL for 4 quarters, but you don't have, when they've got the momentum and they have that extra step on us, you don't have the ability for Heppel and Stringer to have that 15% that they need left over, because they've already expended it.
And look, the other pivotal moment involves McKernan as well, and that's when he's actually lining up 40 yards out, and for some reason takes more than 30 seconds on the shot clock. It's forced him to go over to Devon Smith.
The umpire, why all of a sudden is that a thing now? Like, the other thing I don't mind from the AFL is that you have 30 seconds. They give you 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
They give you 30 seconds. You should be able to spend 29 seconds doing star jumps if you want.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to watch it back, but there's not really been much complaint from Essendon. I think what he did was drop the ball down, pulled up his socks. I think he forgot.
Yeah,
the shot.
Wow,
but it's, again, cost us another goal. And then when you look at which I'm still unimpressed about, the Goddard hold automatic 50-metre penalty rule, which is what they call the Ablett rule, which came in a couple of years ago and hasn't been paid since.
Yep.
It's just big moments. So that's a big moment in the game. The game's on a knife edge. So it was just one of those frustrating games where big moments just didn't go our way.
Devon putting on the world's most picture-perfect restrictive tackle. He grabbed one arm so he couldn't get rid of it. He slung the bloke to the ground, and the bloke hung onto the ball. If he was that worried about his head, he had another free arm that he could have dropped the ball and braced himself with. That's just a tackle that should be rewarded because it was perfect.
Yeah.
And that gets paid against you, man. The last thing, I'll say this now on the umpires because I'm about to burst. I don't complain about the umpires. I don't usually do it because it's a complete waste of time. You can complain all you like. No umpire ever is going to change their decision because somebody complains about it.
Yeah.
They're never going to go, oh, no, yeah, you're right. Sorry, that was quite crap. Yeah, no. The umpire's decision is final. Woosha did what Woosha did today, went and spoke to the AFL. But we got murdered in that game. Absolutely murdered. Not because we gave away a lot of frees. That was fine. I saw them. We gave away a lot of frees. But it was the frees that we didn't get.
Yeah.
The dropping of the balls, the that sort of stuff.
There's 2 tackles where we've actually done, tackled them. They've done a 360 and actually flew the ball out with a throw.
It's just,
and it's like, what is going on?
That is so obvious, man. Like, I know BT and Jason Dunstall and those guys complain that the art of goal kicking hasn't improved. And Sammy Newman, the art of goal kicking hasn't improved over the years, and that's annoying and stuff. I swear the umpiring in the AFL, they still fall for these obvious ones that everybody can see.
Yeah.
But they don't pay them, and I don't get it. So that's my rant over with regards to the umpires. I don't think anybody else should sort of rant as you have your little rant, finish it off, and then we'll move on to next week's game. But man, we got killed in that game.
Yeah, look, it was such a big game. It really was a final for us, so that's the frustration. But look, overall, even if we did win that game, let's face it, we were still 50-50 to make the finals.
Yeah.
And even then, you never really thought we're going to trouble the top four.
No. And that's why I like the heading of this podcast, and that it's not all bad, folks. It's
No.
not all bad, guys. This is we played really good against a good side.
What we wanted 7 weeks ago when we made our little statement.
No. When Scott walked into a...
It's our podcast.
Yeah, that is true. When we walked into a darkened room, Scotty walked into a darkened room and just almost bloody was so sad that he cried.
But we wanted consistency. We wanted our structures right.
Yep.
We wanted effort. That's been now 7 weeks in a row. So they're the losses you take because Collingwood had a lot of luck. I still felt like most of the game we were the better side. We wanted it more. I'm happy with that.
So am I, man. So am I.
Obviously, I don't like losing. Trust me, everyone.
No.
That's why it took us 2 days to do this podcast.
Exactly right.
I'm happy with the side and how it's travelling.
Yep.
Because there's
I
so
think
many
everybody
positives.
should be.
Yeah, there's so many positives happening at the club. I really do feel like our midfield is getting better and better. I totally ignore what happened in the last quarter because it is what it is. Like what we said, we saw the injuries. I was a little bit annoyed with the over Pendlebury and all them. The leaders stood up and when the game had to be won. No, buddy.
That's crazy.
Our midfield got injured.
Exactly.
So
right. Yeah,
our ruckman couldn't jump anymore.
There you
So
go.
the Grundy just basically said, "Here, have the ball."
Exactly.
So let's be real. But look, there's so many positives. Devon Smith
Again.
13 tackles,
Again.
31 possessions.
He is the ever ready bunny, that guy. I swear. Every single week he's nudging 30 possessions if he doesn't get there, and he is in double figures in tackles.
Yeah, it was just huge. And I actually thought Zach Merritt was just... His disposal just looks so much
elite.
better than anyone else.
It is elite.
His vision...
I said to you, remember that there was a kick, I forget which quarter it was, I think it was the third quarter or something.
Yeah, the one... Yeah, I don't know.
Where he's just screwed it back into the middle of the field again and gained 30, 40 metres worth of ground on the kick as well. And I thought, look at all of the players. If you tried to picture yourself where he was standing on a footy field, he would have had to have looked through, and he's a midget, so he can't see over the top of people. He would have had to have looked through maybe 10 players to see the guy at the other end of those 10 players and then proceed under pressure to plant it down his throat when the obvious kick is down the line and the easy kick is down the line. Mate, he's elite.
I thought... I won't give him too much credit because it'll just make us vomit. But I thought Buckley coached particularly well with Sada McKenna because what he did was have Stevenson and DeGoey and a few other guys, and he deliberately made them play very deep. So Sard and McKenna had to play really deep back, and what it did was sort of that negate the run through the middle.
Yep.
They really just had to mind their opponents.
Yeah.
And that's clever coaching. All credit to him. So that's something we will learn from as a, Woosha will learn from as a club to go, what happens in that circumstance.
Yeah.
But look, overall, really happy. Look, there's some guys that need to pick up their form, and I've got to
Before we get to the pick up the form ones, Jakey Long.
I thought Jakey Long was actually half decent,
despite people teeing off on him for 2.
Yeah, he got run down on 2 plays, but I'm not worried about that at all.
No, neither am I.
That's his 4th ever senior game.
And the first in 2 years or something.
I sometimes feel like we totally forget what it's like to have a step up to seniors.
But everybody wants to think. That's the thing. Everybody wants to think what it was. Remember when you came from primary school and you were in grade 6, and then you went to high school, and you saw the year 11, year 12 blokes running around, guys and girls running around. You thinking, look at the size of those blokes. How am I ever going to compete with those blokes? He's taking a massive step from the reserves to the seniors. And he looked at home. He looked comfy. He looked like he's got a little touch of something about him. 18 possessions on your debut, none too shabby whatsoever. Yeah. He will have learnt from those 2 rundowns and will get rid of the ball quicker. That's simple.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're the things you learn very quickly. You learn space and awareness very quickly to go, okay, the closing speed is gonna is going to happen.
Everybody needs to remember that.
And look, and also our guys need to talk to him too, even in that instance when he is running away.
That is
Say,
true.
you're hot, just communication as well. But that's just basic learning in your fourth game. He hasn't played a senior game since 2016.
Everybody needs to remember Joe Watson
I'm not fussed,
averaged like 8 possessions a game for his first 20 games of AFL, right?
Yeah.
So, no. Jakey loved it. Loved the fact that we've blooded another player. Loved the fact that his last name is long.
It's like I tweeted out, that's our 38th player we've tried this year.
Ah, mate,
I
like it.
So we can't really complain that we're not playing as many people. It does do a whole argument of why
broach the subject of
I would like a 39th player of a certain number 10.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to ask you a question, Grant. With Waller's game, how do you see Waller's game? Because there's two parts to this, and I asked Robert Shaw. There's the part where his pressure was enormous.
Yeah.
But then there's a secondary part where he was asked to play quite a bit of midfield time to help out, and he's only had eight disposals.
Look, you are 100% right. Like 8 disposals. How many tackles? Can you see that? I can't see. I haven't got my glasses on. 6 tackles, right? 8 possessions, 6 tackles. Now, again, we love Waller, and I reckon if we looked at last week's game, he got 18 or something, didn't he?
And look, I'll acknowledge, it's not always tackles. Sometimes it's just perceived pressure.
Absolutely.
Closing down,
Yeah, Waller's like a mini Cyril.
His pressure was enormous, but if you are going to play him in the midfield, he has to get another 10 possessions at least.
Yeah, I agree.
As a minimum. He's got to actually help out the midfield.
Be a midfielder.
Yeah, because the reason I say that, because Devon Smith has 13 tackles, the same amount of pressure, if not more, and he gets the ball 31 times. So that's Waller's next evolution. If he does want to be a midfielder, you actually have to find the ball to help out our team.
Yep.
Not a big knock, because his effort was brilliant. So that's just more an education piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, Collier obviously needs to find some touch. He's come from a very long way back. 9 disposals, really didn't have a presence at all. He's actually he hasn't even had a tackle, so he's really got it.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
He looked way off it to me.
Yeah.
So I think with injuries he'll stay in the side, and I'll just hope that his form builds up. He is a bit of a confidence player.
Yep.
There's a few I guess unheralded players. I actually thought Mitch Brown had a really good game.
Mitch Brown's had a good 3 games in a row.
Kicked 3 goals, presented really hard.
Yep.
So I thought he surprised me because I didn't overly rate him, and I'll be that's me being Brown.
You've said that forever.
But he is presenting really well. I've been really proud of him. So good. Feels like Gorfy, by the way, is just a little bit going through a more rookie.
I've got a different thought on the Guelph, right?
Are we playing him the way he should be played, like through the midfield? Because
I don't think they see him as one.
They're playing him sometimes half back to help out, sometimes half forward.
Is he slightly taller than most, Guelph? Is he a bit taller? Because I don't know, man.
I didn't think so.
I see him on high half forwards, and I see him on high half backs, and that sort of stuff. And every time he touches the ball, he doesn't make bad decisions.
No, he's a very good player.
Absolutely.
I think he's probably got a little bit of the parish victim of we're just placing him in all these different areas during the game.
Yeah.
But he's not getting a cohesive spot to nail.
And again, you look at this is. I mean, you've spoken on your Facebook page to Darcy's mum, and she loves the fact that, and he loves the fact when he gets to play in one spot.
When he plays the VFL, he plays.
Well, last week's game,
he plays the position he wants to play.
Midfield, 39 possessions, man.
And he shines. So
39 possessions.
Wolfie's probably a little bit at that, and
But that's modern AFL football.
Yeah,
modern AFL football. They want you to have the ability to play multiple positions.
Yeah.
So that's why they're probably moving him around. How about we go to a break?
Yeah.
And then we can come back. We'll go have a bit more of a chat on the rest of the players. And then we can delve into a bit more.
This is LCUP Melbourne, keeping retro Run DMC alive.
I love it. Now, Scotty, who else have we got to talk about?
Okay, let's bring up our number one draft pick from last year, which I reckon that
You've made a big call on this, haven't you?
that was his best game for the club, and
Nice.
McGrath. That was.
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, he was taking the game on, running through the lines, looking to attack and score as well, which is a new thing for him.
Yep.
So I was wrapped with his game. He was very close to a vote.
I would have almost given him one.
Yeah, well, some gave him a vote, so I totally agree. I just thought Zach Merritt and Dyson was probably just too big.
Yeah. The 30-odd touches really does put him over the top.
But yeah, and look, so all credit to Andy McGrath. I thought Heppel, his first three quarters, he was bleeding. He copped
He
everything.
literally was bleeding for the club. That man is...
He looked buggered in the last quarter.
Yeah.
So, look, I just so appreciate how he's pretty much carrying the club on its shoulders. So he's been enormous as a captain, and well, what more can you
on
ask?
and off the field, really.
Yeah. So it's been fantastic. So that's kind of a little bit of a wrap up. I'm very happy with how the club's going. Look, we obviously have Stringer out for a month now and Ambrose out for the year.
Where's the lid? Where is the lid at the moment? We said the lid was going to be off. It was going to be thrown across the room.
It feels like a 2019 lid all of a sudden where we're doing a sneak peek inside.
Yeah, look, I think...
Has
I think,
a little glow to it inside.
It does, yeah. You can see a little bit of light on the inside. It's like, you know when you buy a 2-litre tub of Streets Napolitana or something like that,
Yep.
and they've got that really annoying thing that you have, the bit of plastic that you have to pull off before you can lift the lid. And I feel like we're through the little bit annoying bit of plastic, and we're just we're just opening the edge of the ice cream,
Yep.
and we can see the chocolate and a little bit of strawberry in there as well, which no one wants. I reckon the lid is almost coming off. I reckon everybody needs to be extremely excited about our next month of football, because we've got 2 games in a row coming up that we could absolutely win and win well. Sure, and you were sort of saying before, Jakey being out is a real bummer for us. It really is.
It is a big out.
That's a big out. And Paddy Ambrose as well. Paddy's, man, he's tried hard for the club, and he's injured again for the rest of the year.
We're kind of really calling on the VFL team guys now to start really...
To step up.
To
big
step
time.
up. So, very interesting selection this week.
Now, we've got a centre-half back, a mobile centre-half key position backman out. Who comes in? We've got 2 key position mobile backmen.
You get the sense... Look,
Ridley or Francis.
well, see, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because he deserves it as well. But when I heard Woosha talk about who's available, he did say that Matty D was very unlucky to be an emergency, and I've just got that funny feeling
He'll probably put him in again.
he'll probably put him in again.
Damn.
I think, personally, it's the perfect time with Gold Coast and Fremantle to put Aaron Francis in.
I 100% agree with you, man.
And I understand the D comments and the unlucky part of that, but we've got to work out if this kid has something by the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's my personal feeling. If he...
We know he's got something, but
Yeah.
I just think to see it at senior level, and he's done his dues. Like Aaron was getting over some personal issues, and he's committed himself to the track. He's got over those issues as best he can, but he's now performing regularly on the track. He's deserves a game.
Yeah, it's not like he's been back 3 or 4 weeks. He's been back 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly right.
And his performances, his quietest one was actually on the weekend. But it was a windy, wet, that kind of tricky kind of game. So they put him forward in the second half of the game. He kicked 0-3, but he was obviously having shots on goal. But his overall 2-month period has been extremely good. I think it's a perfect time when you have Gold Coast youngsters and you have Lynch out, to say, well, you know what, you're going to line up in a guy that's probably similarly aged to you, similar build to you. Let's see what you can do.
Yep, 100% agree.
And the same with Freo after that. It's just a good 2-week window to put him in to really see what he can do. And I have a lot of faith in him.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. I rate him very high. So,
Every commentator in the comp rates him highly.
But it just seems strange to me personally that we can play 38 players on this list and a pick 6 a couple of years ago, playing really well in the VFL,
And-
is not one of those.
But he's earned it
Yeah.
now. Like, he's earned it now. If we've been
yeah.
hanging on him for ages because he's got to perform regularly and show the guys that he's an AFL player playing in the twos,
Yeah.
he's done that now.
And
He's
look,
done that.
The common feedback I get is, well, you don't know what's happening with him in the club. You don't know if he doesn't want to play yet. You don't know if he's going to be traded.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, and I hope you read between the lines. I am, with a few others, are a sponsor of Aaron Francis.
Yep.
We really get to know their family well. I don't believe that's the case. I believe he's biding his time. He wants to play senior football. And so I don't buy into that.
Importantly,
Yep.
he wants to play it at Essendon.
Yep. So he's happy at the club. So I don't buy that. Sorry. I believe it's time we actually play this kid.
Reward the kid.
Yeah. Because he wants to play. So if I know that, then let's get him in.
Yep.
That's my personal feeling. Other selections, look, if I'm Essendon, I'm a bit cautious on Fantasia. It sounded like they kind of felt like it was 50-50 this week. But
If
we've
they're not
we've
sure,
now
no way.
now this year had Fantasia, Laverde, Myers, Ambrose all be rushed kind of back and then do the same injury or re-injury
Yep.
again. And I think we've got to learn from that. So if considering Fantasia's been injured 2 or 3 times already this year, it's probably wise just to give him now another week.
Mm-hmm.
And we should beat the Suns by our own merit.
That's right. Yeah.
But we're probably not going to make the finals anyway. So let's just protect some of these players from long-term sort of injuries. So I would give him another week. But it does mean that you're going to have to replace some players. So
And I mean, Jakey, who comes in for Jakey, do you reckon?
well, do you think about a Dylan Clark? Do you think about a Much?
And that's the thing. I mean, it depends on the role you want to play. I mean, Jakey's been heading forward for a period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got Coll Langford who can play that role. Like, if we could swap Langford's midfield role over to Dylan Clark, who's the hard-nosed bloke that gets the ball, and then we move Cole's role that Stringer was playing. So the mix between forward and centre. So because Langers is well and truly capable of doing that, and we bring Dylan Clark in for that for that dedicated midfield role.
Yeah, there's still players there in the VFL that are good.
Yeah. And do you know who else is performing, I'm hearing?
Who?
The Zerk.
Oh, the Zerk is playing well.
The Zerk is playing very well. Look out for the Zerk, I tell you.
He's if he was a little bit bigger in build, he'd probably be.
Mate, don't worry about his build. He's coming along as the Zerk. I'll tell you what. I've for those that know me through Scott's Facebook page, through the Red Sash, I've been a massive Ariel Steinberg fan. He's absolutely gone too soon from this club.
Long story.
Really, really disappointed in our trading of the Stein.
Please treat this as comedy.
But hey, Stein could have been an AFL legend. Hopefully, I'm still trying to get him onto the podcast. He's kind of not returning my calls at the moment, but I'll get him on this podcast.
Well, the judge said you couldn't.
No,
so.
well, there's burner accounts. No, I will get Ariel Steinberg on this podcast. But my other man, considering the Stein is now sort of running around somewhere else, the Zerk, or the Prime Minister, or Maggie is as his nickname is. Look out for the Zerk. I predict he'll play a game of AFL seniors this year.
He won't. Anyway, next.
We love you, Zerk. We love you.
Well, there's a guy called Ridley, so.
Yeah, well, look, what's Ridley got? The Zerk's about 19 inches taller than him. He's the man. Love you, Zerk. You'll be playing soon.
So, look, that's a bit of a wrap-up. We're going to have a very quick break, and I'm going to talk about the draft last year and why the upcoming trade period is very interesting for Essendon. So, there's your little tease.
In the backyard, all died when you went away. I know that living with you, baby, was sometimes hard, but I'm willing to give it another try. Nothing compares to you.
Gotta love the Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. One of my favourite bands. One of the best live bands you'll ever see. A total concert of just covers from a punk band. I highly recommend.
Nice.
Check them out.
It's a hit pick.
So let's talk about last year's trade period when we got Sard, Smith and Stringer.
Anybody at the Lunchtime Catch Up Podcast Facebook page, get back to me or Scott with name me a better draft period for the Essendon Football Club.
Yep.
Seriously.
But here's the genius of Dodoro. So
I love that man.
If people remember the Carlisle trade, that's actually one of the best trades you'll ever see in history.
That's a big call.
If you go back to what we actually got, to the starting point of St Kilda saying you're not getting pick 5, you're not doing this, you're not that, we end up getting pick 5, 2 second round picks. Like, it was like crazy.
And Zach Merritt.
Yeah. So no, that's like,
wasn't he in the same draft?
No.
Totally ignore what I just said with regards to Zach Merritt. It had no bearing on the outcome. Okay.
And then basically this is what he's done again. So we obviously want to get Sard, Stringer and Smith. And when you look at the media and see how the clubs who have those 3 players, it was pretty much worked out straight away that we're going to have to give up our 2 first rounders and maybe our 2 second rounders. Mm-hmm. So last year's draft and this year's draft would be we'd have to use all our picks because we're picking up 3 really good players, and that's been confirmed right now that they're 3 really good players.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Tudoro won't have a bar of it. He puts a strategy in place where we have only used our 3 picks last year. And what he's done in one of those trades is get back. So we've used a second round pick, a future second round pick. And what he's done right at the end of a trade, he's got back with the Smith trade, sorry.
Yep.
He's got GWS's second round pick back at the very last minute because he just wanted a second round pick. So he wanted to make sure we had a first and second round pick, knowing it's probably a super draft coming up. So when you look at that, most people would say, oh, okay, GWS second round pick, they're going to be top 2. So that's going to be pick 35, 36.
Yep.
And Essendon should be in the round about 6th position or 5th position. There you go. They're going to be pick 13, 12. Dodoro doesn't think like that. What happens if, he always thinks, always get what you can. If I can get a second round pick, you never know what's going to happen to a club.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're sitting 12th, so we're pick 7 at the moment. And now, everyone knows we want another gun midfielder in a big trade. And that's what he's thinking as well. So now we've got pick 7 because we haven't gone as well as we want. But GWS are 10th. So now we've got a pick 26 instead of a pick 36 because GWS haven't come on. They've got injuries. They got traded players.
Which is you never know what might happen.
So what's happened is we've picked up 3 guns, and this year's trade period, we've not lost anything.
We haven't had to give up anything.
And our picks have only got better because GWS have struggled. So that last-minute little ditch might just seem like a small little negotiation, and GWS are going to back themselves. Oh, yeah, that will be pick 36. Now they're kicking themselves because it's pick 26 in a super draft. And now you're talking, well, what happens if you package pick 7 and 26 for a big player? Out of we're meant to use 2 first round picks to get Stringer, Smith and Sard.
Yeah.
We've kept our first round pick. We've got a second round pick that's actually equal to almost where we're going to finish on the ladder that we would have used anyway because GWS are basically just ahead of us.
Yeah.
They play Richmond this week, so they're not going to win this week either. That's how you negotiate a very clever deal where you've picked up 3 stars, and this year's draft we've actually got gun picks, and they're the kind of things I think about and go, we're really actually well set for another big sort of trade period if we want to go down that route. Obviously, if you got pick 7 or 6 and you see a really big midfielder, they might go, actually,
we'll just take that. Thank you very much.
We'll just take that. But now you've got all these options in play. You might have a really good player. that wants to trade from another club that's a really good role player or a really good solid mid, you can use that pick 26 on him in a super draft, and it's actually going to be a very valuable pick to a team. So they're the kind of things you go...
look, the
last minute negotiations of Dodoro just being a real... he's hard to deal with, I get that.
Yeah.
But what happens to Essendon? He thinks of Essendon first. And that negotiation now is one of the best trade periods of all time.
For any club.
Because we've legitimately got, with Smith, Stringer and Sard, 3 genuine stars.
Young.
Under 24.
Yep.
24 or under. Kept out first. And we've now got pick 7 and 26 currently listed to use in this draft.
Yeah, baby.
That's if you want to knock Dodoro, never knock Dodoro at actual trade period because he's a gun.
Everybody hates dealing with him, but that's the thing. He gets the outcome that Essendon needs.
Yeah. So it's actually the fact that we've actually started to sort ourselves out on field, and we understand we probably took too long, and that's why we're not really finals bound.
Yeah.
And we make no apologies in saying in the first 8 weeks we were really sloppy. We were actually we were just terrible, actually.
It led to Scott being depressed, yep.
Yeah. So, but out of that, at least Dodoro plans for that scenario, and we still, as a club, have really big options ahead of us with a really good first round pick and a really good second round pick. So all credit to him. It's just something I wanted to share.
Oh, absolutely.
And say, look, there's even more positives with us finding our form, that we actually have a bit of an angle now to find some good players.
And this is the thing, is that when you play Longy and you play, hopefully, Francis, and it's got to happen at some stage, right? When you play these kids, you now know Ridley. Out of nowhere, you know Ridley's a player. You know you've got him, right? You know Longy can match it. He looks okay out there, right? So all of this is also giving Dodoro ammunition to go into the trade with.
Oh, look, I can say this now. I couldn't say it the last couple of weeks, but I know for a fact from a journalist that 2 clubs are looking at McKernan, that they really feel like he's turned the corner now.
Yeah.
And it looks like it as well. Like he's performing very strong.
Hugely.
We're obviously going to, with Joey out for most of the year, we're obviously going to keep playing him. Dodoro has another little cog to go, well, when Joey's fit and Stewart's in form, and I do have the option for a club to say, hey, now you got a really big marking forward, which are hard to find.
Very hard to find.
Hey.
And this is the thing, is that
you can start... Dodoro, and that's not against McKernan, because Dodoro might say, hey, I want to keep him.
I was just going to say, we've turned that kid around and we'll hang on to him, thank you.
But you do have options now. And
huge options.
And that's another reason why you play a Francis, because you, in business sense, now that you're not going to make the finals, what happens if he does star? I can tell you, Port Adelaide and the Crows are going to come knocking on the door.
Hugely. They're doing it already.
Now, I don't think he's going to leave. That's my personal view. But I think it's a win-win. I mean, for some odd reason, at the last minute he said, I might go back. Then
the club,
and he's starring.
They know what they're going to get. Yeah. But I like the factor too that if he's going to come on and play, and we know we've got a key position swingman, front or back, then it informs Dodoro as to what we draft.
Yeah. Right.
Because we might go, well, you know what? Between Ridley and Francis, and Hooker and Hurley, we've got enough. We've got enough key position players when Ambrose comes back, right? So we concentrate and just get every midfielder we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
But we looked at Dylan Clark. We've looked at Kobe Much. We know what they're capable of doing. We've got... That's the thing. The other thing and Guelphy and those guys. That's the other thing that everybody needs to sort of realise too, is that it must be hard for the selection committee, and it must be hard for Woosha and that, to be able to sort of say, listen, I've got to find out what Kobe Much can do. I've got to find out whether or not Langford's going to be a player. So it's important that these guys play, and I think it's great that we see Woosha doing it.
And look, if you can hear any background noise,
yes,
it's called a 15-year-old boy playing Fortnite.
In the background of the Lunchtime Catch-Up Studios, which is Scott's front bedroom. So yes, we apologise for the noise in the background.
So look, one last thing before we go, I thought I'd do a bit of a surprise thing on Grant and And I want you to quickly tell me, off the top of your head, name
Without
your...
looking at the notes that I haven't created.
Well, at the last minute, because I
At the
quickly...
last minute, yes.
Who's your top 5 leading the Crichton Medal at this stage?
All right. There's, by the length of the straight, it's Devon Smith at number 1.
I already disagree with you, but go on.
What? Devon Smith is not leading the Crichton Medal.
And it's not even close.
Dude! Come on now. Devon Smith has been the most consistent footballer on our list all year.
I agree.
And he's performed the best. Who?
The captain is leading by a mile.
The captain is number 2 on my list. He is sitting just behind him. But Devon was playing in the first 8 games when we were POO as a football club.
Yes.
Devon Smith was starring. Dyson couldn't kick a football, right? Like,
Look, we're talking like fans, but when they did last week and you saw the total sum of coaches' votes, Dyson Heppel had more coaches' votes from our coach. He was double than any other player. So and that's more the intel. I know exactly your thoughts, and I kind of agree. But my feeling is when the coach is telling you that the captain's double the votes more than any other player.
You know what? If Dyson's leading, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Devon Smith, Dyson Heppel, and...
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because Zaharakis would have stolen a lot of votes earlier on.
He did and all.
Because Zach Merritt was the quiet one. But his
Yeah,
last
but
6-7
Merritt-
weeks has been...
Zach Merritt, Adam Sard, Tommy Bell,
Hooker,
Hurley, then Hooker.
So who's your 5 then?
All of those people.
You mentioned 8.
All of those people.
No, you gotta tell the listeners.
Can you
your
have
5.
equal?
No. Screw you.
Thanks for that, mate. That's great.
So 1.
Devon Smith,
2.
Michael Hurley. No, I couldn't
Heppel.
do Dyson Heppel.
3.
Adam Sard.
Okay. 4.
Hurley.
5.
Don't know. For number 5. Okay, so
You got out of like Billy, Hooker, you've got...
Hooker. It's got to be. I mean, that's just the obvious, straight off the top of my head, zero sort of thought on the matter. But Hooksy's been dominating down back, been taking marks left and right. Hurley's been back to bear status. Adam Sard's been just running all over the shop,
So
doing
you don't have
incredible
Zach
for
Merritt
us.
in the top 5?
Did I not say Zach Merritt?
No.
I'm sorry, Sardi, but Zach... Devon Smith, Dyson Heppel, Zach Merritt, Adam Sard, Michael Hurley, Cale Hooker. I think that's 6.
I think that's it.
That's okay. We'll go with 6.
You do have an ability to do
And
5.
Scott, with your weird bloody dissenting lunchtime catch-up view.
Dyson Heppel, Devon Smith,
It's the name that was supposed to be second. I'll give you the hot tip.
Michael Hurley, Zach Merritt, outside of your cough, Cal Hooker,
Cale.
yeah,
Okay.
and Zerk Thatcher 6.
And Zerk. Damn right he is. Zerk's just sneaking into the top 10.
Yeah.
No, I see. I reckon. Yeah, Devon's my guy. He's been the recruit of Essendon's last.
Oh yeah.
5
Like I
years.
said, I get what you're saying because I'm probably the same.
Man's been everywhere.
But it's just I was genuinely surprised to hear the coaches' votes had Heppel double than any other Essendon player so far for the year.
I'd like to give a vote to Zach Hurlston. Zach Hurlston for being noisy in the background. He gets 1 vote.
He gets 1 vote.
He gets 1 vote for
Fortnite.
Performance and loud noises in the back of podcasts. I hope he hears this podcast. That'd be funny.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. Hopefully we'll beat the Suns Saturday night.
You going to be there?
No, I'm not going to Gold Coast.
Oh, is it the Goldie?
Yes. So
Didn't realise that. Probably not so much.
I should have, but
no, that would have been nice.
But yeah, so hey, hello to my good friend Clinton at work too. Got a nice little text message
Clinton,
saying,
yes.
saying you listen to the show.
Scotty's famous.
Always weird when you have people at work saying, hey, I love
weird,
the show. So thanks, everyone. We'll talk again this time sort of next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday night.
Where can they find us, Scotty?
They can find us at our best site, which is the Facebook group site.
Yes.
Go to Facebook. It's on public, so just type in Lunchtime Catch Up Podcasts. You should find us. Be a member. Always good information coming through. We always have good chats.
Yep.
You can email where?
Email. I'm getting all sorts of.
Would you rather Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook. I don't think I'm going to shut that down because I'm getting all sorts of weird spam through there, and it's freaking me out. So we'll probably just go the messages through good old ubiquitous Facebook.
Yeah.
But get us on iTunes and SoundCloud. Become a subscriber to us. Hit that little sort of button it'll let you know when we podcast when we load it up, which will probably be about 20 minutes from now. So yeah, get us through the FB page. We love talking to you guys. But I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Okay. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.